Alright, I just want to take a few minutes to show you where you can find some of these resources that the students have access to in order to implement this instructional approach. So I've already shown the students this in class. They learned about this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this past week. So they actually could show you some of this themselves. They probably already know a lot of this information. So I encourage you to please ask your student to show you and tell you about what they've been doing in math and how our school year is going to look. They may not have all the answers yet, but they are definitely going to be able to explain some of this to you and walk you through some of it if you'd like more details from them. But just to get you started, this is our Google Classroom page that the students have access to. They know how to get here. And this is where all of our materials are going to be that they're going to access throughout the year. So the main important piece that I wanted to show you was this grid that they actually use in order to work through this instructional approach. So the way it works is each unit they're going to get a grid that has all the information that they're going to work through. So they always start at level 1. Okay, this is like the basic level of information that they're going to need as they start moving through the grid. So they always start in the first section and they start at the top and work their way down. So they work through each one of these, and these are linked to different videos or activities that they need to work on. And once they get to the bottom of one section, they start at the top of the next section and work their way down. And they keep doing that as they get through the level. And when they get to the end of a level, they always have some sort of assessment that they need to do. We call the assessment at the end of level 1 and level 2, we call those formative assessments, because those are assessments that are going to have us check in and see how are they doing so far, but they're not going to be grades that go in skyward. So they'll still get a grade, but it's going to be letting them know how are they doing so far, what information do they maybe need to go back and take a closer look at. Maybe they're ready to move on to level 2, but there's things they need to be aware of as they work through that level in order to better understand a specific concept, things like that. So they'll always have an assessment at the end of a level. So when they get to the end of that level, then they move up to the next level, and again they start at the top, move their way down and over, up and down and over, etc. Okay? Now here's the important part. So our summative assessment, which is like the end of unit assessment, so this is the one that is actually going to go into skyward. This is going to be their grade for whatever standards we are assessing for that particular unit. Now this was our intro grid, so this grid does not have standards that are going into skyward because this is introducing how our class works. So it's not going to be math content right now. Very soon it will be, but right now this is getting to know how our classroom works. But in order for them to know how our classroom works, they're going to actually do a grid to practice what they'll be doing later on when it actually gets to math content. So the really important part is that our summative assessment almost always is found at the end of level 3. Occasionally it might be at the end of level 2, but more often than not it's going to be at the end of level 3 somewhere. And there might be a few different types of sections. There might be 4 sections in level 2, but anywho, however many sections it is, they make their way through, and there is some sort of due date of when they have to have this assessment done by, but many students are going to get to that assessment before other students are ready for that assessment. And so again, that whole moving at their own pace. So maybe one student can get through level 1A, level 1B, and on to level 1C in one day, in one class period. But there might be other students that have to take an entire class period for 1A. That's all right, but we are teaching them to still manage their time, that they don't have forever to complete this grid. They still have that due date of when they have to take that summative assessment by. Okay, so Some students might get to this early, some might get to it later. If they get to it earlier than some, the great part is that level 4 and level 5 are what we call enrichment levels. So this is where they're taking what they learned and they're pushing themselves to the next level, where they might apply it in a way where it's not just learning the information, but it's actually applying it in either a real world situation, or maybe it's sharing what they've learned with their community somehow, or finding a way to present the information in a unique way. And so this is information that maybe they would not normally get to in a traditional classroom setting. But by using this personalized learning, they can take that assessment and move on to these enrichment levels as needed. However, if a student needs to take all the way up until this date to take the summative assessment, they can, and that's okay. They're not going to miss anything. The end of level 3 is the minimum that they would need to do. So they're not going to miss any content at all when they take this assessment if they have to take it that very last day. That's okay. And you know what? They'll probably end up being able to take it with more confidence and earn a better score because they were able to do this work at their own pace. Okay, so that's how the grid works. Your student has access to this again, and I really encourage you, you don't necessarily need to do all of this, but I would suggest that even if your student has done some of this already, you should probably take a look at some of these pieces too, so that you understand what they're doing on a daily basis. Like, for example, when they're talking about this tracking page, this is something we use in class every single day. So this would be a good thing to take a look at with your student, and they could even explain it to you, or you can click on it yourself. Just ask them to go to Google Classroom, show you their grid, and work through some of these activities. A lot of them are just videos that I've recorded to help the students and you understand how it's supposed to work in our classroom. So that is the grid. Just a couple other things I want to show you. As they're working through the grid, one thing they have is a grid packet. They don't have this for every single activity, but there's some sort of activity along the way that they have to do. Sometimes it's something where they just check the answer key that I link to them in the grid. Sometimes they require a teacher's signature. So that way I'm checking in, seeing how they're doing before they get to that assessment, whether it's formative or summative. Sometimes there are activities where they have to get up and move or work with another student. We use a lot of technology. So there's lots of different things that they're doing in here. So again, this is an intro packet that they're using. So this is getting to know our classroom, getting to know our grading scale, all that kind of stuff. In the future, obviously, this would be content related. So I'm not going to go through everything in here, but again, you can have your student show you Google Classroom, and you can look through some of these different policies in our classroom that they're going to be using all the time. Now, there is one more thing I would like to show you. I'm not going to tell you everything about it yet, but just so you know, there's a website, and it's actually an app too, called Seesaw that we will be using every single day once the students get situated with it. And it is a reflection and goal setting, how can I say this, a way for them to reflect and goal set every single day. So basically, I'll give you just a little preview on it. Let me go and click on it so you can see. Give me 1 second. So each student is, when they get to this part of the grid, they're going to be able to sign in. I'm just going to sign into mine real quick so that you can see just a little bit of what it would look like. And I will be sending something out here very soon about how you get to access this, because this is one of the wonderful things about Seesaw, is that it's not just something for me to see, it's something you can see, and when they do it in class, you can see it in real time. It's not something you have to like log in later. You can have the app on your phone and check to see what your student did in class. So basically, they have a journal, and when they click on the journal, or when they click to like add in the journal, I can't show you from the student side because I'm in the teacher side, but they have a couple different options of how they can reflect. Now, some of these first posts were just them getting used to it, but they can show a picture, or they can just write a note on what they've learned. They can do drawing. They can do a video the student did a video and record, well, actually did a picture and recorded over, but they can do a video. You can draw a picture. But again, what they're eventually going to be doing is more specifically answering certain reflection questions, and that's posted on Google Classroom. Your student can show you that. But this is a great way to see their reflections on a daily basis, so that you can see what they worked on in class and what their goal is for the next work session. Okay, and they should be doing this after any time they do a work session. So not just in math class, we will always take time at the end to do that, with about 5 to 10 minutes at the end. But if they say have a work session where they're working on math and tutorial, or they do some work at home, any of those things, they should be reflecting afterwards. And I'm going to be talking with them about that this week. So they will definitely know that, but you could talk to them about that as well. As soon as we get all the students into Seesaw, which should be by Monday, I will send out another email so that you are able to go into Seesaw and you'll be able to click on your students so that you will only see your students' journal and you can see what they are reflecting on and goal setting on at the end of each work session. So those are pretty much the basics of how our classroom works. Of course, if you have any questions or comments or concerns at all, please feel free to email me. I am more than happy to answer those. But again, just remember, your student is working through this currently. They started it this past week and they're going to be finishing up this week. So they are also going to be pros at this. So feel free to ask them. And again, I encourage you to please work through some of this grid with your child. You don't have to do all of it, but maybe pick a couple of the important things that jump out at you and have them either explain it to you or try and watch the video and do one of the activities yourself. So again, please, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I am so looking forward to this school year and trying this instructional approach out. So thank you so much for taking this leap with me, and I think we're all going to be very satisfied with the results. Have a great weekend.